I am going all in on XRP, is what I've said multiple times on this channel. And you want to know a funny thing? If I had listened to myself, if I had actually gone through and bought these freaking coins like a maniac, going all in, not thinking about risk, going for it, I would be laughing to the bank every single day right now. I can just imagine I thought like a green aura over me from all the money. But I think going all in is quite stupid because, well, what if you're wrong? So for that reason, it's always nice to diversify because it's quite hard, I think, to be wrong on the investing sector because thus far it's always worked out. But if one specific asset is the thing, I've explained this before. I personally think that from my own situation, XRP is the literal best thing I could go for, which is why it's my #1 biggest asset. And I've explained to people tons of times for what reasons I think it'll do well. However, you have to also understand that I've been saying this all the way down towards 10 cents for the majority of the time at 50 cents, and we're up a 7x or 6x or so from those levels. So for me, this is all-time high territory. My balances have never seen the crazy amount of money we're seeing right now. For a lot of the new people, or people that didn't go as hard at the cheaper parts of the run, they're thinking, how much further can it go? And here I'll put a thing. You have to understand that there are always people that take the XRP price from 311 to 345 and retire their entire freaking village. Because some people know how to time it a little bit better and just make tons on very small moves. But the less you have, the harder this becomes. But the funniest thing is, for me, it's not a question of should I be buying, should I? I'm not your financial advisor. I make no guarantees to you. I'm not saying you should be doing anything. All I'm talking about is my opinion and just for educational, mostly entertainment purposes, really. It's just my thoughts, right? And what I'm going to tell you right now is I never have this idea of is it going to work out or how high will it go? It doesn't really matter to me. I've already set my plan. I am buying all the way until Bitcoin, basically gets back into maybe like the 50s, the 40s, just goes down significantly in terms of a breakdown, in terms of dominance. And that's basically where I signify an altcoin season to be here. It's once ETH breaks its all-time high, and you got to understand, we don't really know when the top is going to be, right? Beforehand. You only know afterwards that that was the peak. So it's always wise, in my opinion, to start selling into the momentum. Earlier, I had strategies of sell a little bit every single day of 2025. We changed it to sell the second half of 2025, starting with the moment that ETH breaks the all-time high or Bitcoin breaks 150, either of the two. But I still do not believe this is the end of the run, regardless of whether or not we see a 30% dump right now, 25%, 20%, 40%, it does not matter. I'll be buying my way through this because I believe in it so much. And the funny thing is, a lot of people, they have this borrowed conviction. They don't believe in an asset. They just hear somebody else speak about it and they're like, okay, I should get into it too. Or they see the amount of money somebody has made. They see the $300,000 profit that my XRP trade is in. They think, oh, I want that too, which I get, but it's different. The reason I was able to hold this through $100,000 in the minus, or my entire accounts, and hundreds of thousands or maybe millions of dollars in the minus, is because I believe in it so much. So for me, it's only a question of, should I buy more right now or wait a slight little bit? It's not should I buy more, or if the price is up. You've seen me buy here, XRP. When it dipped to 335, I was buying that dip. Not because it was the best of the best price. It was the best price of recently. I mean, because the price went down like what, 10%, 8%. So it's nice to buy from there. But later on, it went down even more. But you know what I did? I didn't sell on this little top again. It was not good enough. You know, we already sold before that. I just waited for an even bigger dip and I bought more. Why? Because I just want to continue my spree of buying into the best market I think we will ever see, the best opportunity we will ever have. And if I want to play it a little bit better, I could try to sell into some of these resistances and buy harder as the price goes back down because we were just able to buy, right? All this that I bought at this bottom, it's wise to actually maybe try and sell it right here at the initial resistance, because even if I just bought, let's say $200,000, right? It still is $900,000, and that way the risk is minimized because I'm cashing out profits constantly. But I just think too much work, too much to think about. I already have my easier strategies with all the bots going on. And I believe too much in XRP, where every single dollar I sell right now is going to be worth, in my opinion, so much more in the near future. why would I get rid of it here? It's so freaking cheap. And this keeps me up at night sometimes. The idea that I bought all these watches, I bought all these things, and they would have been worth 10 times as much right now. This specific watch, bought with crypto, was when Bitcoin was $16,000. And I sometimes think about that, like, I don't care about buying items because you're enjoying them and it's worth the money for me, even if it would be worth 10 times as much in the future. But I do care a bit more about having not enough coins, looking at my balance thinking, I could go a bit harder, I could be buying alcohol. And I remember every single other run where I kept realizing the only thing I had to do was just get my mind in the game and realize from a probabilistic, just from a perspective of probability, this is the season. And if your friends are talking about I'm going all in, thus far, again, I cannot advise you to do anything. I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying thus far, it has always proven to be a pretty good timing-wise in the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin. So then comes the question, do you believe in the cyclical nature of this? Do you think it's going to break? Do you think something similar will happen? If so, then you got to realize we only have a couple months left. And we, theoretically speaking, only end that market after it spirals out of control. And the funny thing, I keep saying funny thing, I'm sorry about that. When you look at how these markets perform, people keep saying, oh, this time around maybe cryptos won't reach an all-time high, like crazy heights. Maybe ETH won't even break it. I refuse to believe that. I still think ETH has a pretty easy risk reward, but it's still less good than some other coins like XRP in my opinion. But to get back to it, if you think about it, what makes the market crash significantly? You could say fear, sure. But thus far, it has always been an extreme amount of greed. People want more and more and more. Prices start going crazy. They spiral out of control. People start buying actual garbage, and the garbage keeps getting worse and worse and worse. People think this is never going to end, and that's when it crashes. You know what's happening right now? Just recently, a Bitcoin whale who bought it like $1 a coin, whatever, sold his $9 billion. And the Bitcoin price fell significantly as people were fearful. In a really good market, this fear would just cause the price to go up even more for some reason because people will find a way to buy alts. And the funny thing is, in this market, I keep saying it. I might have a little bit of a brain issue, I think. But in this part of the market, what we're seeing is that even though there was so much fear with Bitcoin, so much of the rumor going around, and the overall sentiment's quite low, with people saying, you see, this is really going to go down, Ethereum stayed the same. Ethereum was able to level flat, not go down, even though Bitcoin went back to 115. And it made me realize, no, this is the time. And so what I'm thinking of here is just going a bit crazier on my risk tolerance scale, just because I think I'll not regret it. Right? Obviously, you got to play around with your numbers to not get fully wrecked if we wick down hard, if we get another manipulation dump going. But I realized the market is sustaining itself so well throughout Bitcoin's slight volatility here. If Bitcoin makes a big break for it, there's the possibility, of course, that our coins would fall. But I do believe that we would have already seen more hints of that when Bitcoin just now fell to 115. We were able to sustain it so nicely that I'm up in my risk scale a little bit. And I said it in my previous video, but I'm even flying out just to get access to some more capital, just to deploy even harder, because I'm thinking this is the time to go, from my own perspective, right? A bit crazier, just because otherwise I think I'll regret it. Because if I look back at my previous times, the previous markets, the previous highs, the previous whatever, I keep thinking, yeah, the biggest regret, if I were to name one, is just that I didn't believe more in the cyclical nature of it and didn't try harder when the opportunity was so good. And I think it's scarier to do that when the market is mostly down. So, for example, December 2022, right? For example, when Bitcoin was 16,000, things were really, really low. It's harder to do it at those points because you have this like PTSD sort of from the markets just falling and falling and falling for the last year or year and a half, whatever. It's different now. The market has mostly been up and up and up. Thus far, any single dip bought would have resulted in some crazy returns. And if the underlying tech, so that's why I sometimes refer back to XRP or some of these, if the underlying tech makes so much sense for it to not go to zero, for it to have proper backing, for it to just stay in at least a stable, pretty much stable spot when the market's not absolutely trash, right? It's too easy for me. And I keep thinking, can it be this easy? Can it really be as easy as just buying a bit hard and that? But then I look back at the stock market and think, you know how many people I've thought with NVIDIA, with Meta, or with the entire freaking S&P? Can it be as easy throughout time by just buying the index and it would do well? Sometimes I thought no, because in 2008, for example, you had some bad times, right? But overall, Really, all people would have had to do is just buy the S&P consistently, buy some of the, if they wanted individual stocks, buy some of the top stocks individually, like Meta even. That's all they really had to do. It literally has been that easy. Because they look at cryptos and say, no, but it can't because it's too volatile, right? In essence, it's quite volatile, sure, but NVIDIA has done even crazier numbers. But people can understand why they've done it so, right? And I think the same about these cryptos. Like, I can understand why they're doing it, though. I can understand the appeal, and it makes a lot of sense. Can it really be that easy? Maybe yes. And why would I always want to try and wait for other people to figure it out and go for the opportunity? We have MicroStrategy, we have Sharplink, all these freaking huge companies buying such crazy amounts of coins, the treasury companies. You know, and they're trying this with billions of dollars. They have the chance to be on top of the top. Now, I can either go against them and try to call their bluff, or I can go with them. And that's what I'm thinking right now. I just go with the flow of what some of these major guys are doing. They seem to believe in it very much. And that, to a certain extent, is borrowed conviction, but it's also just really going for the play that I think makes most sense for me, based on what all these guys are doing, if you get my drift. They believe in it so much, they're borrowing from everywhere to buy more, obviously with a lot of leeway, right? The price can go down before they get wrecked, but they're going at it all the way. I personally think I can either decide to skip this crypto stuff altogether or go hard at it as well. And the reason I can skip it is because if one of those guys gets wrecked, the entire crypto space is done for a little while. All right, think about this properly. If freaking strategy gets wrecked because the market wicks so much, we're going to have the barest of bear markets. So I'm going to be screwed anyway. I might as well go with the freaking boat, go for it, go hard. And I might regret it for the rest of my life, but I don't think so because at least I freaking tried. And from a risk-reward perspective, oh boy, do I think it's a good moment to try. Not financial advice, my opinion. I just want to get you guys a little pep talk in case you were looking at these crypto coins thinking, damn, they're down a little bit. Realize that it's all part of the broader success, I personally think. You know what? That's about it. If you want to also trade, you want to find where I'm trading at, links are down below. And yeah, no stream today because I'm flying in 3 hours. So yeah.